Hey guys, Ozzy here and welcome back to another YouTube video. Today we're going to be talking about Gyomei from Demon Slayer versus Toph from Avatar The Last Airbender. If you're going to enjoy this video, then make sure to like, subscribe. This video is basically in response to the YouTube short I made a while ago, where everybody seemed to agree that it was a stomp in one person's favour, but could not agree who was actually doing the stomping. So I figured I would make a video going into detail about my opinions on the matchup and basically covering over why I made the original YouTube short the way I did, and basically just say my opinion on the matchup in general. So yeah, enjoy this video, then make sure to like, subscribe, and let's just get on with it. For strength and attack potency for Toph, physically she should scale to King Gyomei due to being able to fight him in several occasions, who could pick up and throw Ozai's statue with enough power to equal 0.57 tons of TNT. Of course, with the bending ability, she becomes much more powerful, scaling above a group of waterbenders who could freeze a large Fire Nation ship, which would require power equal to 4.836 kilotons of TNT to a high end of 120.9 kilotons of TNT, which ranges between small to large town level, and you could make the argument that bending should scale to her physical strength, but it is up in the air. Basically, her max attack potency should be small to large town level. As for Gyomei, he should scale far higher than Gyacho's self-destruction, which was capable of destroying a village with enough power equal to 9.52 kilotons of TNT, also being town level. Now, he can scale higher than this due to possibly scaling above the mountain toppling upper moons, which I've already went over in previous videos as to why it's a bit questionable, but if you do believe that they are actually capable of toppling mountains, then they would have at least the power equal to 1.5 megatons of TNT or small city level. So realistically, there are high ends and low ends for both. If you take, Gyomei at his highest end and Toph at her highest end, then Gyomei would be 12.41 times more powerful than Toph. Baseline Gyomei would be 1.96 times more powerful than a low end Toph, with a higher end Toph being 12.7 times more powerful than a baseline Gyomei. Baseline Gyomei being 16.7 thousand times more powerful than Toph if you believe that physically she should scale to her bending. So realistically, you could argue it goes either way. Personally, I do think it makes more sense for Gyomei to be more powerful, especially because he's able to increase his power further with things like the Demon Slayer mark, which I've also went over in previous videos. So yeah, you could realistically argue one or the other being stronger. As for speed for Toph, she should scale to the likes of Zuko and Azula, who are capable of reacting to bolts of lightning, which travel at 270,000 miles per hour. As for speed for Gyomei, he was able to fight and keep up with Kokushibo, who should scale to Zenitsu at least somewhat, due to being able to take on people much stronger and faster than Zenitsu has. But even if you think he scales just below him, he should at least still roughly scale to Zenitsu's feat of wearing blitzed lightning, which would require him to move at 1.3 million miles per hour, and he can further increase this speed with See-Through World and the Demon Slayer mark. So unlike with the strength attack potency point, there's not much contention for who's faster here, with Gyomei being much faster than Toph. As for Toph's durability, it should at least be on par with her a physical attack potency, being able to take attacks from King Gyomei. And if you take the argument that, bending should be equal to physical stats, then she would of course have that scaling to her physical defense as well. Although, even if you don't buy that kind of thing, she could still defend herself with her bending via making earth shields, for example, so you could still argue that it plays a part in her physical defense to begin with. As for Gyomei's durability, meanwhile, he should scale to his attack potency just be able to take multiple casual attacks from Kokushibo, who should scale much higher than Gyacho's self-destruction, meaning that it's basically the same story as this with attack potency, except there's much more contention with if Toph should even be on Gyomei's level, as you'd have to argue that bending is equal to durability. You could, there's an easier argument for Gyomei being more durable. Of course, with the earth shields, that doesn't really matter, but in terms of raw physical durability, it is much more Gyomei's favour. For the abilities, weaponry techniques of Toph, she has ki manipulation, as ki is the source of a user's bending. She has earth bending, metal bending, sand bending, surface scaling, seismic sense, and non-physical interaction due to benders being able to interact with spirits. As for Gyomei's abilities, he is an acrobat, has supernatural willpower, body control, being able to manipulate his blood flow, low regeneration, being able to heal things such as hemorrhages, enhanced hearing despite, the fact that he is blind, he's capable of judging the speed and regeneration ability of Muzan just from pure sound. He also has extrasensory perception, being able to sense where others are. He has battle spirit with an overwhelming aura. He has statistics amplification with total concentration breathing, along with the Demon Slayer mark, which boosts his speed and power. Instinctive reaction, having superior reflexes to the likes of Rengoku, Mitsuri, Seinmei, and Giyu, who all react to things instinctively. He is a master at spiked flail and axe wielders, due to, being the physically strongest and skilled of the entire Demon Slayer corps and using them as, ability as his weapons. He has sunlight absorption as the ore of the katana, being the scarlet, crimson ore, absorbs sunlight. He has perception manipulation due to, his breath styles, shockwave generation, air manipulation, rage power, and awakened power, becoming faster and stronger through use of repetitive action technique. He has reactive power level and accelerated development, becoming a pillar after 2 months of training, while a normal person would take around 5 years to become a pillar. Had perception amplification, information analysis, enhanced sight, analytical prediction, and precognition with Transparent World. Transparent World makes his perception of time slow down and makes the user directly see the opponent's muscles, blood flow, and movements, and allow them to predict their moves. And Gyomei is capable of exactly imagining the opponent instead of seeing them, of course, due to him being blind. He has heat manipulation and regeneration nullification with the Crimson Red Nichiren Blade. He also has invisibility and stealth mastery of Yushiro's talisman, if you allow him to have that. He also has resistances to fire, water, and heat manipulation with the corpse, outfit, protecting him against those sort of things. Resistance to poison manipulation, his total concentration breathing can grant resistance to poison and slow down its circulation. Biological manipulation, pain manipulation, fear manipulation, and paralysis inducement. So overall, I think it's quite clear that Gyomei has the more OP abilities and generally is just more versatile due to having more abilities. As for weaknesses, Toph relies on her seismic sense to know her surroundings, can't swim, and is completely blind and useless basically without her bending abilities. As for weaknesses for Gyomei, he is blind, although he's able to make up with it for his superhuman hearing ability and the use of Transparent World, but besides that, he doesn't really have much besides that. You could argue that he does have a weakness with the fact that if he loses his weapons, then he loses a lot of his abilities and ways of attacking, but beyond that, there's not that much to distinguish between Toph and Gyomei as to who's more vulnerable, with them both basically having the same weaknesses, so you could argue it's basically a tie for who has the worst weakness. So overall, who wins the fight? We've gathered from this that the strength and durability can be argued to go either way, with the weaknesses being basically equal. Besides that, Gyomei is faster, has better abilities, is more versatile, and has better weapons, so it does look like it's in Gyomei's favour, and I would, be inclined to agree. Although Toph does have a few things going for her that Gyomei doesn't. The biggest thing being her metal bending, meaning that she could very easily get rid of Gyomei's weapons, playing into one of Gyomei's biggest weaknesses, and Gyomei can't really play into any of Toph's weaknesses. Meaning that you could argue that Toph could win based off of that. But the thing is, though, Gyomei just has much more going for him. Firstly, his abilities of Transparent World makes the speed gap even faster or even bigger than it already was. He'd basically just speed blitz Toph, and depending on what you buy for her physical durability, could one-shot her. If you think that her bending should scale to her durability, you'd have to take Toph at her highest end of power to not be able to get one-shot by Gyomei. Even then, that's baseline Gyomei. If you take Gyomei at his higher end, then even then Gyomei would just basically speed blitz and one-shot Toph from there. Granted, a lot of Gyomei's abilities don't really play that much of a part in the fight. Even if you grant him invisibility with a talisman, Toph's seismic sense makes up for that. Many of his resistances are stuff that Toph doesn't even have access to, so it's not really that much of a big deal. But even then, he just has way more to work with than Toph does. And you could argue as well that Toph's earthbending could very well play a part in, helping her, survive for a bit, but with Gyomei's low regeneration, body control, and just generally being so much faster, I don't really see a world where he's not gonna beat Toph. So if you enjoyed this video, then make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.